How many of you are from Dayton, Ohio? Most of you probably are. And so if you're from Dayton, or at least a suburb of Dayton, you know that high school football is probably a pretty big deal. And when your high school's in the middle of a cornfield, it's about the only deal. I go to Bellbrook High School, and I'm a captain on the Bellbrook High School football team. All 3 years leading up to me being a captain, I would consider myself a pretty hard worker. I stayed out of trouble for the most part. I never skipped workouts, and most importantly, I set a pretty good example for the younger kids. I spent my time for senior year preparing, and most importantly, trying to earn a Division I scholarship and fulfill my dream of attending the United States Air Force Academy. That spring, that dream came true when I received the offer. And this was my dream school because not only did it give me the opportunity to play big-time Division I football, but later in life also commissioned as an officer in the United States Air Force. Needless to say, my friends and family and community was all very happy for me, but we were just ready to play some football, honestly. Fast forward to the first game of the season, we were playing Tip City. This was supposed to be the biggest game of the season, considering they had beat us last year, and that was the only thing that stood between us and the playoffs was that Tip City loss. So we were looking for revenge. The game got off to a pretty good start, but I'm not going to lie, I got tired pretty quickly, partially because I played offense and defense, partially because I was 290 pounds, and partially because I was even the punter. I know what you're thinking. That kid is probably the biggest punter in the state of Ohio, and you're probably right. But yeah, the game was going pretty good. We were up 14-0 late in the second quarter when Tip City began to drive down the field. They sat on our 8-yard line with about 3 minutes left, facing a crucial 3rd and goal. A stop meant that we held them to a field goal, going into halftime with a very favorable 14-3 lead. They snapped the ball. I shuffled out a couple steps with my responsibility, only to see that it was a fake and that it was actually a play-action pass. Seeing this, I ran towards the quarterback, and him seeing me coming, he tried to run away. I made the cut to make the tackle, but something wasn't right. I was now on the ground, and I didn't make the tackle. And the only thing that I can remember is not ending up on the ground. The only thing that I can remember is the pop in my left knee. Now, I just sat there and looked at my knee and said no, because that's all that I could say. And it wasn't because of the pain. It was because that was the problem, that there was no pain. I got up, ran off the field, and was just yelling about how it was way worse than anybody could ever imagine. I hopped up on the trainer's table, and I told her I was done, that it was done. My knee was done, and my senior season was over before it could even start. I peeked my head out from underneath the towel and saw my best friends crying, my family just standing there, and the crowd blankly staring at me. I didn't know what to do, so I just got up and went to the locker room. In the locker room, I talked to my 2 best friends that would be filling my role on the field. I told them that there's nothing on that field that I could do that they couldn't right now, and that the only thing that they needed to do was step up and win the football game. We did just that. It was probably a little closer than we'd like, but we ended up winning and using it as a stepping stone to the rest of our historic season. The next day, I went and got an MRI on my knee to confirm what we had already known: a torn ACL, a minimum 6 to 12 month recovery, and surgery that would be performed 4 days later. My coach came over and we just talked. We were both obviously pretty bummed, but I told him there's nothing we could do about it now, and that I was going to do everything in my power to ensure that we still had the banner year we'd worked for all summer. The only problem was I didn't know how to do that at this point. A week ago, I was the captain on the football team and the best player on the field. But at this point, I was just the captain on the football team that was going to be in a wheelchair for the next 6 weeks minimum. I began to think of ways that I could possibly lead. How could I lead from a wheelchair? I knew the physical part of football, but how could I possibly lead from the sidelines? I thought back to some of the bad leaders I had in my life to try to learn from what they did wrong, and how could I improve my leadership based off of what they did wrong. And the theme was common, and it was that they were not in it for me at all. They were in it for themselves. The only thing that they cared about was their money, their power, their recognition. Every reason except for me. So then I thought back to some of the best leaders I ever had in my life. The quarterback in my freshman year. He became one of my best friends just simply by talking to me. He was a senior superstar quarterback that just simply talked to me because he knew it would have an impact on my life. I didn't understand it until I became a senior, why he did that. Simon Sinek puts it best when he says that every leader knows what they do. Some of them know how they do it, but not every leader knows why they do it. Only the great leaders know why they do it. That quarterback knew what he did. He was the captain of the football team. He knew how he did it. He was pretty good at football. But his why is what separated him from the rest. And his why was that he was in it for us. He knew that his impact with his status would make a bigger impact than football ever could. And then I looked at what were my why? What was my why? I knew my what. I was the captain on the football team, just like him. My how, I was pretty good at football. But my why, I was missing that why. I didn't know my why until after I tore my ACL, and then my why became my teammates, because that's all I could do it for. So I began to try to implement my why, just like that quarterback. I wanted to be like him. I knew that we could be successful if I led like him. And the only way to get people to understand your why is to get their trust. People don't follow you because they have to. People follow you because they want to. I had every reason to give up that season. I no longer was physically part of the game. I couldn't be. I couldn't walk for 7 weeks. And it felt like nothing that I did mattered. But I knew that I still had to show up every day and make the biggest impact I possibly could. It was a tough season, but Bellwick football ended up having a historic season, a banner year, as we called it. We went 10-0, one of the best seasons in 20 years. And honestly, that season, I felt like I made as big an impact on the sidelines as I ever could have on the field. So let me leave you with this. Everyone is a leader to someone. So if you make the change and you lead by your why, then you will become the leader that you want to follow. Thank you.